Raechelle, lovely to have you.
Thank you for having me.
First thing I'd love to chat about is you've been working on Home and Away for a little while now.
Yes.
Love to go back to the very start and talk a bit about getting on the show and the audition process, what that was like and how you...
Well, it was really quite special for me. I went for the first audition and kind of thought that I stuffed it, really. And then I found out a week or so later I got a call back, and it was my first call back with a chemistry read, which was really awesome. And then when I got there, it was a chemistry read with the producer and a director in the room, and I kind of thought that would make me really nervous. But it didn't. It just made me really excited because it had this element of real. A lot of the time you're in the audition room and you don't feel like you've got a chance because you just feel like you're another one walking through the door. But to have people that actually work on the show in the room to see your work made it feel really real. And so I had Matt Little and Scott Lee there and read a couple of scenes. And I don't know, I walked out feeling really calm and right about it all. And then, it was 2 days later, I had been told that there wasn't any news and I'd probably hear next week. It was Friday afternoon, and then I was on the train with a friend of mine, Kelsey, and got a call from my agent just thinking she was giving me a pep talk for the weekend, and she told me they offered me the job, and we just panicked and I had to jump off the train. We were about to get into a tunnel, and it was a whirlwind. And it was the first time I ever had to quit a day job, and it sort of changed my whole life for the better.
Yeah, very exciting. So for people who don't know, chemistry test meant, were you working with another actor there? Yeah. So what was that like? Was it someone on the show already?
Yeah, so I had two. So one was Matt Little, who played VJ, and he'd been on for just under a year, although his character had been born on the show, but he was the older version of it. Scott Lee, who wasn't on air yet, and I had no idea who his character was. So with the scene, I was badgering my agent for what our relationship was and whatnot, and it was, and so I had to sort of figure out what these two characters meant to my character who was born on the show. So I needed to figure out their relationships and stuff. And it was really interesting to be in the room with someone who, one, had been on the show for over a year and had that sort of, they knew what they were doing and whatnot. And then someone who had also been in my position maybe 8 weeks before me. And Scott was quite nervous, just being in an audition space, but it calmed me because it made me feel like we were both in the game together. And it was a really great experience to just be working with someone who was really in the game as much as you were.
Do you think, reflecting on it now, was there anything in that audition that helped you get the role, do you think? Or was it a bit of a blur looking back?
No, it's funny. I remember, you get direction and you're like, oh, I think I took that right and whatnot. But overall, I just think I'd been auditioning since I was 8 or 9 years old. And so being in an audition room with those sorts of things in front of you, a producer, a director, all of that, I think I've learned to use the energy that you get with nerves and adrenaline and excitement to power your performance rather than inhibit it. And so I think that having other actors there only fueled it even more, which I just love playing. So that was really fun to have people play, and it meant something to them as well. And so I think that helped the performance, if anything.
How has it been starting that young and the process being in the game for, I guess, those formative years?
I think, if anything, it was really helpful in the sense that I know the game. I'm not getting into this with any misconceptions about possible rejection or stardom or anything like that. I know that it's work, and I know that it's a business, and I know that you have to work hard, and it's not a fluke that you get these things. So
you get on the show, very exciting. How have you found the process of being on the show?
It's been a whirlwind in all of the ways. It has meant that I was, for the first time in my whole life, on a set every single day, which is the dream. And it also means that I was having to learn how to pick up scripts and learn them very quickly, and not just learn the words, but learn the story, because you are one small cog in a very big machine with, I think we had almost 20 castmates at one stage. And so you have to learn your place. And yeah, it's been a huge education. I think that's the one word that I can use to describe it. but it's educated me in all aspects of my life. It makes you sort of take a look at yourself, because you have to look at your work ethic and you have to look at your relationships around you, and because sometimes you have to analyze what you give and take from certain relationships, because sometimes you don't have the time and you have to put in extra time and all of that because the schedule is so crazy and all of that. So it was a real identity crisis in the best kind of way. It really sparked a huge amount of growth in me.
One thing I've heard about working on shows like Home and Away is that if you want to do well, it's often on the actor to really put in that extra work, because it is so quick, the turnaround. Did you feel you had to kind of, at one point, you kind of had to make a lot of choices and own the decisions you were making as an actor?
Absolutely. I mean, so many people, I think there's a perception, whether it be in the industry or the public, that once you're on Home and Away, you're fine, you're set. And I think that's just the wrong attitude to go in as an actor on Home and Away, because it is work. And it's not always fun work, in the sense that you have to put the hard yards in, because no one will do that for you. You have to pull your weight to be a part of that crew. And if you show up and you don't know your lines, you're still only going to get 1 or 2 takes. So, and the thing is, the great thing is, even if you mess up and you've still put the work in, once that's on air, it sort of in a way disappears, because there's another episode. So there's that training ground. But if you stuff up, you have your chance to make a mark there, and your mark might be that you don't put the work in. And it is upon the actor. I mean, you have all of the tools available to you. We have coaches behind the scenes, which is wonderful, and they're amazing, intelligent women who are working actors themselves. But also, you have great castmates, but you have to learn to pull that weight yourself. And I think that some people walk on and that's really daunting. Some people have it in them naturally, and some people have to buck up and get into that. But I think the show will bring that out in you, whether you like it or not. Yeah. You won't survive otherwise.
Do you think there's been some sort of significant lessons that you've learned? You know, there's days you've turned up and gone, okay, I need to do this and this, or...
Absolutely. I think that I've learned a few things, one of which would be how to tackle perfectionism as an actor, because it never fuels you, it only inhibits you. And I struggled with that for a while, and then I started to realise how to strip that away, and the imperfections is what makes an actor's work more interesting, and to be okay with that kind of vulnerability. I also learnt that you have partners, and sometimes there isn't that natural chemistry there, whether that be in an audition space or on a set. And in those areas, I learnt that I'm capable. And because you don't have time to mess around, and so you have to just make clear decisions and all of that, and you can't rely on other people. It's great when you've got that play, but to be able to distinguish when it's there and when it's not. I think to work out other actors in a really small amount of time, and work out crew members as well with directors and what their style is and all of that. I learnt that I swim, I don't sink in those situations. I can figure people out quite easily while holding my own. And that was it's a hard, I mean, I still have a long way to go. But in those sort of boundaries, I learned that quite quickly, which was really exciting, because it makes, I don't know, when you find out you're capable, it's a nice pat on the back.
So we get a lot of young actors who are interested in Home and Away. Do you have any advice for young actors?
I think, like most industries, I think that when you want to attain a goal, you should know why you're getting into that. So not just for the sake of saying you've got that goal or what position that goal gets you. I think understanding why you want it. Do you want an education in the industry? Do you want an education on being on a set? Do you want the variety of storylines? Is that what you want? I think that you can work really hard on an audition and possibly get the job, but you have to understand that you need endurance. And is that something you want to work on? I think you need to, I think if you want to be a creative, I think that's a wonderful thing, and I encourage that for anyone. And I have so many people who, people I went to school with or family friends or whatever, that want to be an actor and specifically want to be on Home and Away. I think that my main piece of advice would be to just do it, but know why you want to do it.
That's great. So you've also been really proactive outside of Home and Away,
Yeah.
recently doing some great short films. Why has that been an important thing for you?
For me, while I was getting training on Home and Away, for me it was always, training is really important to me. So whether it be vocal training or movement and all of that, that's been really important to me so that I can exercise those different muscles. And these two projects came up serendipitously. And they also happened to be projects that I got to work with my sister on, which was not planned at all, but just was really lovely. And they were different muscles that I didn't get to stretch while playing Olivia. And so one was a real dark comedy by a wonderful writer, director, Alyssa McClelland. And it was a really fun world to dive into. I got to train as a gymnast. I play a rhythmic gymnast in the film, and that was something that was so exciting. I have a dance background, but to learn a whole new skill and go training for a month at a gymnastics studio, it was so exciting. And then also to do this film that one of my best friends, Izzy Stevens, has written, directed, edited, produced. She's carries all of the hats and tries to wear them simultaneously. She's put this together, and it was a real dark story that she needed to tell, and it was a really interesting time of where I think we're opening up a lot of conversations about just how people deal with trauma. I think now mental health is more of a conversation on the table than ever, and and once again I got to work with my sister, which was so lovely.
Did you find as well that all that training that you'd been doing on Home and Away helped you when you had a bit more time to work on a script?
Absolutely. When we first started Second Best, we shot that one first, and the first thing I learned was that doing gymnastic stuff, I was very nervous about doing it, and I thought that my perfectionism was going to get in the way. But once we finished shooting it, I was able to just move on. We had so much more to shoot. It was the first thing we did. And I realized that Home and Away had taught me that you are capable, you being me, Raechelle, and I can trust in that I'm going to put in as much effort as I can. I'd done all my preparation, and I can trust that my director has gotten everything she wants from me, otherwise she would have asked for more, and that I could let it go and move on to the other things. I think that I never thought that I would get there just because perfectionism is an evil thing. And I think I learnt that I can trust myself and trust the people I surround myself in. And then that carried on with Phenomena. We had a very tight schedule, like any short film, and I think that the scheduling of Home and Away and the amount of effort you have to put in beforehand so you're okay on the day has taught me that I'm totally capable whenever a new circumstance is thrown at me, such as a very tightly scheduled short film.
You've had the great opportunity of working with lots of directors now over your career. What do you love in a director when you work with them?
I love a director who communicates. I think that communication for me is key. I've had directors since I was very little, such variety, some that don't communicate, and I find that communication for me means I feel like I'm on the outside, and then you have too much time to get in your head. I want to know what they expect of me because I know I can do it. I can, and if I can't do it, I want to work with them until I can. And so communication is really important for me, and I think that I like a director who wants to play but also doesn't want to get in your way. I think no one likes a line read and all of that kind of business, but that willingness for collaboration, I think, rather than you walking onto anyone's set, whether it be the set designer or the lighting or whatever, if you feel like you're only in their domain, I think it's got to feel like a team effort. And the beautiful thing about Home and Away is that it is a family, and as many times as that's been said, it's not just a cliche, it's true, it is really a family. You do feel like you're walking onto a realm of creativity and collaboration, and I think that's what I seek, and whatever director walks through that door, I think they have to adapt to that, and some are more technical and some are more actor-based, but I like to find that happy medium.
Any advice you'd give to your younger self? Now you've had a bit more experience starting out in this game.
I mean, we all hear as actors that it's your special thing, your personal thing that you want to bring to the table that'll make you stand out and whatnot. And that can be really hard to understand as a child because sometimes you just want to be an actor and therefore you kind of want to fit in with all the other actors and whatnot. And while I'm still getting used to what my thing is, I think trusting in myself, because working as the same character for 3 years, you learn that it is what I bring to the table that makes that character come to life, and to have that endurance, to have that arc for nearly 3 years now, and to trust that whatever I bring to the table is my own thing and to not second guess it. I think that would really benefit little Raechelle.
And finally, any ambitions for the future?
I just want variety. I think I've been so fortunate to have a variety of people come into my life with the amount of actors and filmmakers we have come into Home and Away. I think that I want to keep that momentum. I want to keep variety in stories that I tell, in characters that I get to play, in places that I get to film them. But also, I just want to, that variety, I just want it to mean something to me. I like the idea of just doing things that get your blood boiling. And I think that variety that scares me will do that, just because it's fun to leap into things like that.
Beautiful. Well, Raechelle, thanks so much for taking some time.
No,
it's been lovely to chat.
It's been so nice to see you.